Okay, 3 incredible 5K sessions you don't need a track for. Now, I listen, if you're trying to get fast and you're trying to get fast for, especially for the road or for trail or whatever, there's a myth around running that you get your speed from the track. It's completely a myth. And the reason it's a myth is because we don't run round in 400-meter ovals. We don't run like that. And if you're running anti-clockwise, then there's going to be more pressure if you think it on the outside of your left leg and the inside of your push-off leg, which is your right leg. And in terms of the surface, especially if there's a new track and there's a bit of give to that, even if that's a bounce, your Achilles, your calf, you have to do a little bit more work in order to move forward. I always suggest training and doing your hard work, unless it's technical trail and you're trying to do something fast like interval sessions, I'd always suggest training specifically on the surface that you're going to race on. That's really important. So when I was marathon running and trying to get my marathon time down, it was really important for me to be doing my intervals not on the track but to be doing them on the road, because it just made sense. Like in a marathon, in a well set up marathon, whether it's London Marathon, Seville Marathon, Barcelona Marathon, Manchester Marathon, wherever you are in the world, there's no super tight corners. There's a couple at London. There was, I think, one at Seville. There's a couple where you need to make the city work for you as a marathon, yeah. But you're mainly running in long kind of lines, and there'll be like 7 kilometers in the time, etc. And then you'll maybe do a couple of 90-degree turns, but there's nothing major. So you need to become fast at running on the surface and running where you're going to be running. So for road running, which is often 5K running, then to be getting fast at that, keep your intervals on the road, first of all, right? And first interval, it doesn't matter whether you're trying to run a sub 13 minute, a sub 15 minute, a sub 20 minute, a sub 25 minute, a sub 30 minute, or just trying to get round. It doesn't matter. Really good session for this is, what I like to do is to take the amount of time that I'm going to be out there. So for me, let's say it's a really easy number, 15 minutes, strong marathon, 5 times 3 minutes per kilometer. That's a push, that's on my threshold, that's where I am about, and that's a good level for me to be at, to be a good ultra runner, to be a good marathon runner as well. And the 5K is very similar to the 10K, that there's not a huge difference in the energy systems. So you'll find that most people's 5K PB is not much faster than twice 5K for the 10K. So if your PB is 15 minutes, for instance, you're not going to be running so much more than 30 minutes for 10K, because it's the same kind of energy system. And there's a relationship as well between the 10K and the half marathon. It's just a case of working on your speed endurance and your endurance, and that will naturally happen for you. But so I'll take the 15 minutes and I will work on getting it as fast as I possibly can, and gradually building up in the distance of the intervals over the weeks. So if I can train specifically for 10 weeks, get fit, make sure that for the speed sessions especially, you're warming up properly. So you're warming up for 10 minutes, you start with a walk, then you start with a light jog, then you're gradually doing some dynamic stretching, then you're doing some strides, then you're getting gradually faster, and then you're doing almost a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes at the rep pace that you're trying to accomplish within the session. Then you hit the session. So there's no shocks. There's no, like, if you're doing 10 times 400 meters, for example, there's no shock in those first 2 reps. So it doesn't feel like you're getting there's no time that you feel as if you're letting yourself down within the session. And it's about pacing the reps one after the other and getting the best out of the session, so it's well paced. Very difficult to pace a 5K and get it right and be on the limit for as hard as you can, because your heart rate should be so high for the time that you're out there, whether that's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, it doesn't matter, yeah? So what I will do is I'll take the 15 minutes and say, right, I need to be as fast as I possibly can for 15 minutes. So let's break that down into 5 times a kilometer. And that will be my session in probably week 5 or week 6 of the training program. So I'm going to work back here, and I'm going to work back so that you can see where I'm getting to and then where I am. So if there's going to be a point when I'm doing 5 times a kilometer, which makes total sense for 5K running, I'm going to be doing 5 times a kilometer, and my target time is going to be about 2:45 per kilometer. 245, 250 per kilometer. And I want that to be comfortable, and I'm only going to take 60 seconds rest in between, and then I'm going to go again for 2 minutes 40, 2 minutes 45 per kilometer, between 240 and 250. So it's faster than putting 5 kilometers back to back and run a 5K time trial or 5K race. So I want to make that race pace feel as comfortable as possible, so that I'm controlled, I'm in my zone, and I can push in the final 2 kilometers when it's going to get hard, when you start to taste blood. You've been there. Then what I'll do, if that's like week 6 or week 7 in a 10-week training program, before I do a small taper to freshen up the legs for a 5K time trial or 5K race, I'm going to work forward to that, and then I'm going to make bigger chunks. So I'm going to do something like 3 or 4 times 5 minutes. Now, 3 times 5 minutes makes total sense. I'm going to be running more than the distance in those 3 times 5 minutes, because it's broken up into 5 minutes. So instead of running a 5K 15 minute, I'm doing probably around about 3.3K per, I'm doing around about, quickly doing the maths, doing just under 2K for the 5 minute interval, yeah? So you could turn that into 3 times 6 minutes and do a lot more than 2K, or you could do something like 3 times 5 minutes, or you could turn that into 4 times 5 minutes. Those are all great sessions. So you could do 3 times 5 minutes and make that specific to you. So if you're gonna do 20 minutes, that would be 3 times 7 minutes or 4 times 7 minutes. So for me, 3 times 5 minutes, great session. 4 times 5 minutes, brilliant session, because I'm not just hitting the speed, I'm also hitting the speed endurance, and there's also some endurance kicking in there as well. I'm doing much more. I'm doing 33% more than the volume that I'm going to be doing in the race. Great for the body, and the body's going to love that once it comes to race day. Or you can split it up into 2 kilometers. So you can do 6 minute and aim for 3 minutes per kilometer, or even faster. So if I'm doing 6 minute intervals, probably going to be running those kilometers in about 250. So if I'm doing 250 kilometers, it's going to come in at around about 2.1, 2.2 kilometers, I think, just rough maths off my head, but look, without looking back on sessions. And then what you want to think is, okay, so if you're able to do those 2 sessions, so I can do 5 times a kilometer in whatever, and obviously the natural progression is to do 6 times a kilometer in the same time, 7 times a kilometer in the same time. If you get to 7 times a kilometer and you can do that in your 5K race pace, then it should be quite easy with adrenaline, with the excitement of race day, to patch together 5 back-to-back kilometers, 5 kilometers in your PB race time. It should be all about you focusing and being able to kind of grind into that first 2, but keep it controlled. 3rd kilometer is always that hump where you're like halfway there, but you're kind of like at the top end of your limit. And then for those hopefully the last 1,500 meters to 2 kilometers, you're pushing it and you're running through to your PB. What I'd start with is a controlled 20 times 400 meters. 20 times 400 meters is a great session, whether you're training for 5K, 10K, half marathon, or ultra marathon, even 100 miles. It's a great session. It's a great marker to see where you are. 20 times 400 meters. I'd run that on the road, as we said before. Run it on the distance. Run your sessions, your hard sessions, on the surface that you're going to be running on. Unless it's super technical, unless you're training for the UTMB, you've already been doing loads of hard stuff, unless it's kind of hill reps. Then remove the risk and obviously be getting your, into your lactate threshold without kind of having to watch to the ground. Run the hard sessions on the road, not on the track, and then be doing 20 times 400 meters with 60 seconds in between. And what that is wherever I am in the season, whether I'm training for a 5K or whether I'm training for 100K, I can look at that 20 times 400 meters. It's doing a lot for me. It's building my top end speed. It's building lactate threshold. My heart rate is going to get high because I'm running as fast as I probably do in my training session. I don't go much lower than 400 meters. I might do some 250 meters or 200 meter hill intervals if it's super steep, but I won't be doing much less than 400 meters. So 400 meter intervals are the fastest that I'm going to be running. So my biomechanics are improving. My top end speed's improving. That's going to feed nicely into my race pace and make it feel really comfortable. So those 2 things are happening, and because it's so measured, it's 20 times 400 meters with 60 seconds rest. I can look back on those sessions over the years and go, right, okay, I'm doing something right there, which is building my speed, which is also complemented by a long run, complemented by building your endurance and stamina. That's feeding into that, and together they're rocket fuel together, and then putting me in PB shape. So in future, how do I build my training program to a point where I can get a PB, if you like, a personal best in my 20 times 400 meters with 60 seconds rest, and I can be going out there and running 25 kilometers, 30 kilometer long runs at the pace that I have done in the past, that has put me in PB shape. And together you start to look at all the markers in your training that put you in peak performance. And peaking for a race means that you've done the training, you've done the base volume, you've got fit, you've started something specific, you've gone through the cycles which are in the 10-week program, and then you're getting yourself as fit and then as fresh as possible so that you can peak. So you don't leave your race day legs out in the training. You peak for race day so that you can get the best possible result out of your body. And that, once you get a hold of that, and it's an art, it's not just a science, it's an art. Once you make that happen, you've got something there, you've got a recipe, and you know what works for your body. And it's just about doing more of what works to a point and less of what doesn't work or what's not working for you. And you will find a sweet spot and then be able to move forward much quicker. And that's what it's all about. So 3 amazing sessions with a 4th or 5th or 6th one thrown in there for the 5K, for getting faster at the 5K. And it's such an exciting distance because you can do a 5K every weekend and be buzzing and still be doing one the next weekend. With an ultra marathon, you've got a couple of weeks recovering, psychologically you've got a couple of weeks coming down, and then you're gonna build your sessions back, and then you can maybe do 4, 5, 6 if you've got a really robust body. Same with marathon. Top marathon runners doing 2 marathons a year. 5K, you can do it every week. You look at people on the track, they're running a Diamond League 5K one week, next week's World Championships, next week Olympic, etc. Very easy for them to do. Obviously not back to back like that, but you get it. Shorter distance, you can push it, you can go at it, and you can be doing more. Ideally, aim for something, make it happen, and then look back and analyze what's gone right and what's gone wrong. And then you're unstoppable.